Welcome back to Journey of a Ballaholic, the best talk show for basketball addicts. I'm your host, General Hannibal X. Now, as everybody knows, we got the NBA trade deadline on March the 25th. So in this journey, I'm going to be discussing the hottest NBA trade news as well as some of the buyout rumors. I don't know about you, but I'm a ballaholic. I'm absolutely addicted to basketball. Now, just like everybody, I've got my own opinions. But if you like opinions that are backed by facts, go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and also be sure that you hit that bell notification. That way YouTube will update you whenever I drop new videos.
Are you ready?
Okay, let's jump right into this thing, man. I'm glad to be back. Thank you for everybody for being patient with me, as I just wanted to take a little time off. But listen, the NBA trade deadline is here, and it's coming up very fast. March 25th. Listen, when that point comes, you're going to have a lot of names moving, but then even after that, you got the buyout market where you're going to get some of these other names who didn't get traded are going to be open and available for a lot of these contenders. So this is how we're going to do this. We're going to do this in a 3-part series. On today's episode and the next 2 episodes up until the trade deadline, I'm going to be covering 3 different moves, potential moves. We're going to discuss one potential buyout option. We're also going to be discussing one smaller trade and then one big name trade. So in this video, let's go ahead and start off with the buyout option. What's the name that I've been hearing about a lot that I think could be on the move because he's probably not going to get traded? How about Andre Drummond? Now, I've done some videos in the past where I talked about Andre Drummond possibly going to the Toronto Raptors. I don't think that's going to happen, especially in a trade. I just don't think the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to get what they want from or for Andre Drummond. Similar to how the Detroit Pistons had to wind up agreeing to let Blake Griffin go and just kind of buying him out. I think we're going to see something very similar with the Cleveland Cavaliers and Andre Drummond. He just makes too much money, and to be honest with you, as good as he is, and he's still legitimate, I just don't think he has that much value on the trade market to where a contender or even a younger team is going to be willing to trade for him. So where do I think he could go on the buyout market? Well, once again, once he's bought out, he's a free agent and can choose to go wherever he wants to go. What do most of these guys do? They choose to go to a contender. We just saw Blake Griffin go to the Brooklyn Nets. That right there is an amazing move. I think that right there definitely helps them, especially with Blake Griffin's ability to pass. Now, once again, he's not going to be one of their best players, but similar to Andre Drummond, he doesn't have to be. See, I think the Andre Drummond is going to wind up going to the West Coast and joining another contender. How about the LA Lakers? The Lakers right now have been rumored to be looking for a legitimate center, an upgrade at the center position. Now, I'm going to be very clear with you. I stand on the record of saying I think the Lakers don't need to make a move. Honestly, I don't think they need to. I think they just need to get healthy. But because Anthony Davis has still been out, adding some additional talent to that front court, I don't think you can go wrong with that. If you add a guy like Andre Drummond, this is what you're getting. You're getting arguably the greatest rebounder of his era coming to the Lakers, joining LeBron James, who's still the best player in the game, and potentially an Anthony Davis when he's healthy enough to come back. You put that trio together in a starting lineup, and then you still got Dennis Schroeder as the 3rd best scorer on that team. And then you still would have a Montrezl Harrell coming off the bench with the Kyle Kuzmas and listen, man. I don't know about you, but right now we're on a collision course where the Brooklyn Nets are loaded up. Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. Like, the Brooklyn Nets are loaded, and the Lakers are loaded as well. But if you add Andre Drummond, that takes them to another level. So that's right there is my number 1 buyout option for today's episode. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Now let's move on to my small trade option. Now this right here is a trade that I think could be very beneficial to both teams, but the name isn't necessarily as big of a name as we're going to get into the last option. What about a guy like Lonzo Ball? Now, a former LA Laker in himself, drafted by the Lakers, traded away, dealing with, now he's been with the Pelicans. They didn't make the playoffs last year. They're struggling to make the playoffs this year. They're young. They got a lot of potential. But one of the things we've seen is that this Van Gundy team, they're going with a different style of play. Last year, they were the number 2 fastest paced team. Now they're down to like the number 17 fastest paced. So they're going more half court. Now, you got to give Lonzo Ball a lot of credit, though. Lonzo Ball has transitioned from being just a fast breaking, up and down player to where now he's actually being a legitimate half court option. Lonzo Ball right now is shooting a career high across the board, from the field, the three-point line, and even the free throw line. But the three-point line is where he's mostly made a jump to where he's shooting on almost an elite level at 39% from the three. Now, you say, well, why would the Clippers need that? It's not necessarily just his three-point shooting, because the trade that I think would benefit the Clippers is to trade Patrick Beverley out for Lonzo Ball. Well, why? It's not just the shooting, because Patrick Beverley can shoot. And it's not just the defense, because Patrick Beverley can defend just like Lonzo Ball's a good defender. Here's why the Clippers need Lonzo Ball more so than they need Patrick Beverley. Number one, well, let's keep it real. Lonzo Ball's just been healthier than Patrick Beverley. He's younger, but most importantly, Lonzo Ball is the true facilitator that the Clippers need. He's a pass-first guy, pass-second guy. Now, he's come up to become a legitimate spot-up shooter, but he's a pass-first guy first, and that's what the Clippers need. Now, you may ask yourself, well, the Clippers, it makes sense for them, but why would the Pelicans do it, right? Well, understand this. The Pelicans are a team who's likely not going to make the playoffs. I mean, as you know, I'm a big Zion fan, love Brandon Ingram, love the coach, love JJ Redick, love Lonzo Ball. I love the squad over there, but they're probably not going to make the playoffs. And now they're in a situation where Lonzo Ball, because he is having a career year, he's kind of got some leverage as far as the upcoming offseason, and the Pelicans are going to have to make a decision. Are you going to pay Lonzo Ball big-time money? Maybe not necessarily even big-time money, but are you going to pay him what he's going to demand on the open market? That's a question we don't know, especially when you're looking at a young Pelicans team who's got a lot of other younger guys who are going to have to get some money, especially in the upcoming future, as we know with guys like Zion Williamson, right? So I don't necessarily know if they're willing to gamble on that. So would you just let him leave and don't get anything for him? I think getting a guy like Patrick Beverley, who's a vet, who can defend, right? Who can shoot. I think he could play off ball as a point guard, where Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, who these guys are your two primary scoring options, and even with a guy like Bledsoe, who's been the point guard for them some as well, Patrick Beverley can kind of be an off-ball point guard, right? And so that, I think, can help them out. And he's also under contract next year, so you don't have to necessarily worry about going too much into the spending too much money as you would have to do potentially with Lonzo Ball. So I hope that makes sense where I'm kind of thinking that process is Lonzo Ball to the Clippers. To me, it just makes a lot of sense. I don't know about you. Let me know in the comment section below. Now, for the last option, the last move is going to be a bigger name and a trade that I think could take this team from middling playoff team to one of the best teams in their conference. How about this, man? How about the San Antonio Spurs trade LaMarcus Aldridge? Get him up out of there. It's not working. They've already said it's time to blow this thing up. The Spurs, I said years ago, the Spurs should have been blown this team up. Well, now it seems like they're ready to do so, as they've agreed to part ways with LaMarcus Aldridge. But here's the thing. Do you let him walk and get nothing for him? Or do you trade him and get some type of assets? Well, here's a team I think that should trade for him, because they can definitely use his skill set perfectly, and it will help to catapult them to being, in my opinion, one of the top 3 seeds in the Western Conference, especially when it comes playoff time. And this is a team that I like from the beginning of the season, but they just haven't stayed healthy. How about sending LA back to his original team, the Portland Trailblazers? Listen, Portland has been riddled with injuries. Nurkic, Collins, I mean, the list just goes on. CJ, the list just goes on and on. But you gotta give Dame Dollar a lot of credit. He's one of the top 5 MVP candidates, in my opinion, right now, because he's kept this Portland team in the thick of things. They're sitting right now thinking the top 5 seed in the Western Conference. You gotta give them a lot of credit for that, man. But with so many games left to play, you add a guy like LaMarcus Aldridge, a guy who could be a legitimate third option consistently, and his style of play would fit perfectly next to Dame, next to CJ as that third scoring option. Man, I like it. I like it because when Nurkic comes back, if and when Nurkic comes back, you can play Nurkic and LA beside each other. You can play them beside each other. You can still have Carmelo coming off the bench. You can still have Gary Trent. Like, I like this move. So what would be the trade package? How about the Spurs, who right now their front court is abysmal, right? As we've seen, getting some front court help. How about guys like Zach Collins, who's injured, yes, but once again, the Spurs are not any threat right now. But he has more potential in the long run than LaMarcus Aldridge does, especially with the San Antonio Spurs team. And you add in a guy like Enes Kanter that can actually replace LaMarcus Aldridge. To me, I think he's an upgrade over Jakob Poeltl. And you get even maybe a throw-in to kind of make this whole cap space fill in, throwing a guy like Rodney Hood who's making about $10 million a year. So you put Kanter, Collins, Rodney Hood, maybe you have to throw in a pick or so. Wouldn't be a high pick, maybe a second round pick at best. But you put that package together to send over to the Spurs for LaMarcus Aldridge, which team would say no? I mean, the Spurs right now, once again, they're a team who's probably not going to make the playoffs. They're, I think, around about the 7th seed, somewhere around there right now. I just don't think they're going to be able to hold on. I think they see that. That's why they're trying to go ahead and blow this thing up. So with that being said, let me know in the comment section below. What do you think about the 3 options where we talked about the buyout with Andre Drummond potentially going to the Lakers? Let me know about the trade with Lonzo Ball potentially going to the Clippers. And what do you think about LaMarcus Aldridge going back home with the Portland Trailblazers? Let me know in the comment section below. Listen, if you missed any of my previous videos, go ahead and click the box right here on the screen. If you haven't subscribed, please do so right now. Until next time, make sure that y'all stay safe in the streets. General Hannibal X, I'm out. Peace.